Well, hello, and welcome to another lesson of the Focus on GraphCMS course. I'm Marcelo Lewin. As always, the Headless Creator. Feel free to reach out to me, Marcelo at headlesscreator.com. You see my email down there. There it is. So feel free to send me an email with any questions you may have. Today, I'm going to be chatting about localization in GraphCMS and how do we enable it, how do we manage the content in it, how do we even pull some GraphQL queries in the API playground. But as always, before we get started, I do want to tell you a little bit about where you can find the on-demand lesson. After this is done, you'll be able to go to headlesscreator.com right there, click on courses. You can click on all courses there and then scroll down where it says focus on GraphCMS. And then you'll find this one specifically under administrators and developers. It'll be right there for you that you can go ahead and grab. I hope everything is coming out okay audio-wise. Hopefully we're good to go on that, and we're not having any issues with the internet. There were some issues with the internet this morning, but you'll need to register. It's free registration. Once you register, you'll have access to the entire course for free, of course. And then, of course, all the other courses will be available to you for free as well, including my content modeling course, where I just do a lot of content modeling, basically, for any headless CMS. So go and register for that. All right, having said that, as you know the process, this is, I just wanted to tell you about Headless Creator. And now that we got that out of the way, we're going to restart the intro for the actual on-demand version, which will be all nice and clean. It won't have any of this quote-unquote Headless Creator marketing stuff. So let's go ahead and restart it. I'll restart my intro, and we'll go from there. We'll get going. Hello and welcome to another lesson of the Focus on GraphCMS course. I'm Marcelo Lewin, the Headless Creator, and as always, you can get a hold of me at marcelo@headlesscreator.com. There it is. There's my email. Feel free to reach out to me. Today, as the title of this lesson plainly states, we're going to be talking about localization in GraphCMS. How do we enable it? How do we manage the content model? How do we pull data from it or content from it? So first of all, what is localization? And most people, when they think about localization, they just think of translation. That's part of it, but it also is the locale. So for example, even though we have English as the language, it's going to be different perhaps for Australia than it is for the US or for the UK. So localization is a combination of not just the language, but also the location where that language exists, because you may have different ways of saying things. You may have a word that means one thing in the US and it means something completely different in the UK, right? So keep in mind when we're talking about localization is the combination, and you'll see how that plays into turning on localization in GraphCMS and frankly in any other headless CMS. And of course, the question is why localize? Well, localization is really important in the sense that if you want to open up your website, your web app, your mobile app, whatever it is you're doing, if you want to open that up to the entire world, then creating a localized version of your website so then other people with other languages can understand and even purchase from your website would be a good thing to do. So keep that in mind. All right, so the next step is in today's lesson is let's create a content model that supports that. So let me show my screen here. Here we go, and we're gonna go ahead and move some things around here. All righty, so let's go here. So here's a content model that I created. It's a really simple one, nothing really complicated about it, but basically we have an article. That article has a title and a body. I'm just keeping it simple. It has an author, which is a reference to another content type called author. The author has a first name, last name, it has a bio, and a resume. And then, of course, we have the assets content type, which is built into GraphCMS, right? It's a system type. So as you can see, this is very simple. So from a content modeling perspective, when you're talking about localization, you got to figure out what is it that you want to localize. Because just turning on localization for everything it's not the right thing to do. You're not going to want to localize everything. But for example, let's take an article. An article, we know that we're probably going to want to localize the title and for sure the body. Now, the author, you may have a author that is one that writes it in English, one that writes it in Spanish. In this case, we're going to assume the same author does both. Now, the issue that I found right now with GraphCMS, it's not really an issue, it's just the way it works. And I could be wrong, and if I am wrong, GraphCMS, please correct me. But I don't believe you can localize, because I looked in GraphCMS, you can't localize the reference field where you can add multiple references to that same field in a one-to-one relationship. Localization is blanked out, and I'll show you. But, and I could be wrong. If I am wrong, I will post a correction on that. But I couldn't find it. So in this case, we're going to assume